You remember the Selçuk, the Turkish town, we stopped at the gas station. The Greeks were living there. After on, they had to change the place of the city because the main problem there of that city was the malaria. And imagine today also, at the Africa continent, lots of countries all suffer from malaria today. And imagine 2,000 years ago, there was no medicine to fight against the malaria. And when they had the malaria problem, the only option for them, just to move, just to change the location. They were escaping from malaria. That's why they were living behind of the hills. After the malaria, they moved here. How come malaria became a problem for them? It is quite interesting. This city, Ephesus city, was the biggest commercial port of Asia Minor, of Anatolia, those years. And it was the last stop of the Silk Road from China, Spice Road from India. All the goods and the products they were carrying from Central Asia to Ephesus. So that means that was a big size port city. But today, 2014, between the Ephesus city and the Aegean Sea, we have 5 kilometers. How come that city became so far away from the ocean? Because imagine there are lots of rivers all around. And the rivers, thousands of years, carried silt, alluvials, deposits from the mountains, soil from the mountains, and the ancient harbor, it was all silted up by the rivers. According to the archaeologists and the old writers, the port of that city was silting up 20 meters per 1 year. 2,300 years, it is about 5 kilometers. But it was not only the problem of the Ephesus city. You've been to Troy before. Troy, it was also next by to the water, it is far away. Also Miletus, Priene, lots of cities those years were next by to the water, but these are all far away from the water today. And the port area, like my fingers, imagine that there was a natural port and it was all silted up by the rivers. And this port area, by the time, turned to mashed area, mosquitoes, and result was the malaria. That's why they all suffered because of the malaria here. It is hard to believe, but the rivers today are still working, by the way. It means that my country is getting bigger and bigger every day. And if it goes like this, maybe a couple of thousand years later, some of the Greek islands will be, or mainland, you know.
Don't bet on that, because the ocean is growing. It's coming up 1 meter.
We just have 2 islands, we're happy with them. We don't want the rest of them. It's nice islands to visit. But it happened. In front of the Miletus city. Miletus is an ancient site about 1.5 hours away from here, quite famous with Thales. Thales was the gentleman who knew the solar eclipse at the 4th century BC. In front of the Miletus, there was an island those years. Today it is a hill connected to the mainland. And that is the reason this. That city lost the port and malaria became a big problem for them. That's why they moved for several times. Greek people came here 12th century BC. They lived till the 3rd century BC behind of the hills. And at the 3rd century BC, 2,300 years ago, Alexander the Great came here with his huge army. Those years the Persians were ruling the area. He defeated the Persians. And you know, he had a huge country, let's say from Macedonia till India, till Egypt at the south. He had a huge country. But he died when he was a so young man. He was only 32 years old man when he died. But what happened after? Imagine the huge country, roughly the half of the world, and he died so early. What happened after? His important soldiers, the generals of him, they all shared the country and the money of the Alexander the Great. One of them, at the 3rd century BC, was the Lysimachus. Lysimachus, he was the gentleman who built the city, also Pergamon city, about 3 hours away from here. And Lysimachus, he had the money, he was the ruler after the Alexander the Great. He built a new city here at the 3rd century BC, and he wanted from the Greeks to move to the new city. But Greek people, they didn't come here. Imagine that today. For example, when they say you in your hometown, you will leave your house. Imagine you have an old house. You will leave your house. And when they say you, we will build a huge house for you, like a 5-star hotel with all marble stones, free of charge. You will live all your lifetime there without paying any tax to the government. And it has a beautiful view of the ocean. Do you move there? I move. But the trick is, the new house, it is over the graveyard. I think you don't want to live there. Same thing happened this. While the Greeks were living behind of this hill, we don't have the ruins because the Turkish town, Selçuk, it was built over the ancient time. While they were living there, Greek people using this area as a necropolis, means the graveyard. That is the reason Greek people, although they had the malaria problem behind of the hills, they didn't want to live over the ancient graveyards. But Lysimachus, he was the ruler. Imagine that. He spent lots of money for the new city here. He wanted from the Greeks to move to the new city, and he was so smart, so intelligent, clever man. He solved the problem so easily. In a hard, rainy day, Lysimachus and his soldiers, with the huge stones, they closed the sewerage system of the old city there. Imagine the rainy day, it was raining a lot. When they closed the water channels underneath of the city, that city was all covered with dirty water. And it was impossible to live there. That's why they were a little bit forced to move to the new city. And it was an only option for them to live at the new city, which is over the graveyard. And by the time, probably, they get used to live over the ancient graveyards. Greek people here in that city, we're going to visit together now, they lived here 400 years. Till the 1st century AD. 1st century AD, Romans ruled the area. The last king of the Pergamon kingdom, Attalus III, he gave all his country to the Roman Empire without any war, with his testament, because he was thinking that if there was a big war between the local Greeks here and the huge Roman Empire, Romans will win the victory and they will damage the cities after. That's why he gave the country to the Romans, and Romans ruled the area for 300 years. At the 4th century AD, Christianity became an official religion here, and we call the Christian Greeks and the Romans as Byzantines or Byzantines. You know, Istanbul city, Hagia Sophia Church is the main and the most important building of them. They lived in that city 300 years more. Greeks 400, Romans 300, and Byzantines 300 years. And totally 1,000 years they lived here. 3rd century BC till the 7th century AD. At the 7th century AD, malaria became a problem again because the new port also was filled up. There was a really big earthquake here. All the city was damaged by an earthquake, and that's why they left that city, abandoned the city. And they needed one more commercial port, and they settled the town. Most of you stayed there tonight, yesterday night, and you stay there tonight. You'll go to the airport, but you will see the town, Kushadasi. They settled Kushadasi. Kushadasi is a name given by the Turks, means the bird island. But original name of the Kushadasi town was the Scala Nueva, which means the new port. Because Kushadasi was the commercial port of the Ephesus city after the 7th century AD. That's why 1,000 years they lived here. Greeks, Romans, Byzantines. That's why we cannot say today it's a Greek city or the Byzantine city. This is a Greco-Roman city used by the Byzantines after. You will see a building from the Roman time, one building from the Greek time, one building with a cross on it from the Byzantine time. They all lived together. And they left that city at the 7th century AD after 1,200 years, 19th century archaeologists, they began to work here. So they start working in Ephesus city in 1896. More than, let's say, 120 years. Archaeologists today also, they have been still working in that city, but their result after 120 years work is only 20%. The rest of that city, about 80% of that city, it is all underground. If we dig it out here 2.5 meters together, we will find more. Because you can see the ruins and the stones all around today, but before the archaeologists days, hard to believe, but local people were farming over the ancient site because it was covered with the soil with 4 meters. How come that city was covered with the soil? When my wife, when she doesn't clean my home for 2 weeks, unfortunately nothing to do, you can see some dust on the table. Am I right? 2 weeks time, table inside of the house. But imagine outside, imagine 1,200 years, wind, rain and erosion. Cappadocia is a different thing. Cappadocia covered with the lavas. But here, it all covered by the wind, by the rain and erosion. And that's the reason the main level was about 4 meters high. They dig it out and they found the ruins. That's why 120 years, the result is 20%. But the nice thing about the Ephesus, they are still working here. So at least that if you come here 5 years later, you will see more. Okay? This is the entrance. We will start the tour now. We will walk through to the exit gate together. While we are walking, we'll give you the information. You can take your pictures. At the important sites, you will have free times as well. If you are ready, we can start the tour. Okay? Am I boring you?